கோடி 400 கோடி படம் போட்டு எடுக்கிறாங்க. எங்கிருந்து அந்த பணம் வந்தது? ஒரு படம் எடுக்கிறதுக்கு 900 கோடி ஆகும்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. நீங்கள் ஊடகத்திலே வெளியிடுறீங்க, பத்திரிகையிலையும் வெளியிடுறீங்க. இந்த பணமெல்லாம் எப்படி எங்களுக்கு வருது? மக்களுக்கு பார்த்து செய்கின்ற திட்டம். இவர்கள் மாதிரி 3.5 கோடி காரில் போகிறதில்ல, ஏசியில் இருக்கிறதில்ல, ஒரு படத்துக்கு 50 கோடி 100 கோடி வாங்குறதில்ல. எத்தனை கோடி வாங்கி எத்தனை கோடி மக்களுக்கு செஞ்சுருக்கிறாங்க? அது சொல்லுங்கள் பார்க்கலாம். ஒரு படத்துக்கு 50 கோடி 100 கோடிங்கிறாங்க. எவ்வளோ மக்களுக்கு செஞ்சுருக்கிறாங்க சேவை?
Hello and welcome. Very good evening. You're watching the Sunday edition of the Urban Debate. I'm Afrida Rahman Ali. You heard the Chief Minister of Tamil Nadu there. That comment has sparked off a major controversy now as the Sarkar Vs intensifies, with Chief Minister Edappadi Palaniswami lashing out at the filmmakers, firmly backing the protests, even saying that it's natural for people to be angry if the state government is shown in poor light. Is he justifying the vandalism and the violence that has taken place? To discuss this entire issue, I'm joined by my panelist S. Muralidharan from AIADMK. He's a supporter of the AIADMK. I have C. Rajashekharan, advocate of the Madras High Court, Kishore K. Swami, political analyst, Akash Deep Sabir, film director, Arun Ram, who is the resident editor of Times of India. Welcome all of you to this edition of Urban Debate. I would like to begin by asking you, Mr. Muralidharan, that what is the government so nervous about? What exactly is your main bone of contention against Vijay? That the Chief Minister himself has made so many statements, and today he's gone to the extent of justifying the protest, even in a way endorsing the vandalism. He says this had to happen if you make a film that shows the government in poor light.
Not at all. I don't think he mentioned that in particular. What he said is, Jayalalitha she's no more. You know, you want to take a dig at the government, you take a dig at the government, current chief ministers, current policies, etc. Why do you want to talk about something, such bizarre, comments and, using the chief minister's name for the villain and getting her dressed up like Miss Jayalalitha and doing all this? This was not called for. Absolute, this is mockery of what they did, and this can't be freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is, government will tolerate if you go and say your freebie policy is not okay, this is not okay, that is not okay. Even that is debatable because, people don't understand. As he said these guys, travel around 3 crore, 4 crore kind of cars, and they don't understand what the poor people go through. The poor people, when they receive a freebie, whether it's a poor people who don't have 3 square meals a day, when they receive a mixie or a grinder, there's so much of happiness in that. You should see their faces when they receive that. And there are poor school girls who used to walk miles and miles for their school. They got cycles. And that's a benefit which they get.
Mr. Muralidharan, are we forgetting somewhere that this is a movie? It's a piece of art. Here is a film that we are talking about. And I mean, the way you were defending your position, it almost seems like as if you're talking about a political adversary. We are talking about a filmmaker. Don't artists have the right to choose the content that they want to present?
Let me finish.
Okay.
Yeah. They have every right to do whatever they want. It's their money, their producers, their directors, their actors. But the problem here is, this is produced by DMK Marants. Marants are not, amateur, filmmakers. They are in the field for many decades, and they have the media by their side. So they will do whatever they want, and the media will support them. That's what is irking us. And for the last 1 year, I want to know how many debates Mirror Now has done, about DMK. DMK has beaten up people in biryani shop, mobile phone shop, when they have beaten up
you
women
will also do
in
the
a beauty
same.
parlor.
Which by that logic, you are saying you are no better than the DMK. If DMK has in the past resorted to vandalism, AIADMK will do the same. That is the kind of logic which we do not understand, because that's the kind of whataboutery that's taking this country down. I'm sorry. Let me allow Mr. C. Rajashekharan to come in, because you raised an issue here that this is not just a film, it's political, it's being produced by the Maran brothers.
The media is partial.
Let Mr. Rajashekharan come in and help us also understand this, that, for the AIADMK, this is not just another film. This is targeting Jayalalitha. This is showing EPS in poor light. This is maligning the state government. Are you convinced with that, Mr. Rajashekharan?
See, Farida, let's understand this issue on merits. I am for Article 19(1)(a), freedom of speech and expression. I am for artistic creation by any creator, be it a writer, be it a film director, be it anybody for that instance. I agree with them. I stand by them. I go on merits. I support the CBFC, which is the highest authority for film to certify, any film to certify. The Censor Board of Film Certification has issued a certificate. There ends the matter. There is no super censor above Censor Board. So all this, I understand. Being a lawyer, I very well understand what is law and what is the reality. The reality is the director of this movie, particular movie, had stolen the script from his junior director who had registered the same script in 2007.
Oh,
The creator,
please.
no, I'll tell you, let me finish. The creator has all the right of freedom of speech and expression,
No.
not the fellow
Why is he
who
getting
stole
it?
it. The person who stole the script has no moral
Rajshekaran,
right.
that's
We
not
do
the
not
debate.
have any information
medium, which is
until
the
we
mass-
just heard you
which is the
about the
mass
script
medium.
being stolen
That
from
is my
any
point.
other
The
source.
basic
So that's not a
fundamental
point of
is,
debate
when you
here.
steal
The
something and
point
you
of
preach what is
debate,
right and
Mr.
what is wrong,
Rajashekaran,
it's ridiculous.
is
It's
whether the
ridiculous to
AIADMK
preach
is
what you
once
are-
again
you
trying to
yourself have
muzzle
no
dissent.
local stand-eye
Let's
to
stick
the-
to the
direct the
major,
movie because
let's
it is
stick
not
to the
your
issue
movie.
of
It is
debate.
not
I
your
request
script. That is my
you
point.
not to derail
I
the
don't-
debate, because if we go into
Afrida.
the areas which we do not have any information about, it will be a problem. We want to stick to the
No,
issue
no, it is
on
proven
whether
fact. It was in the
whether
court.
the
It was in
AIADMK,
the court
after the
on
Starlight
merits and
protests
speaking.
where certain
I'm
people
not
were
playing to the
killed,
galleries,
after
unlike others,
the
whoever
arrests
is
that were
ready.
made
I'm
because of
speaking
the
the facts
Salem
and
Highway,
truth.
this time
Please
it's a
understand,
movie.
I have nothing
Can a
against
state
anybody,
government
but I'm only
operate in
speaking
this
the
manner?
truth and
That's the
facts.
question. Mr. Kishore K. Swami, would you like to come in and address the AIADMK supporter and Mr. Rajashekaran, the points that they have raised?
I think I think Mr. Rajashekaran is digressing from the topic. The topic being that, a movie has been made.
Yes.
And this movie is definitely, it is indirectly targeting an individual who is no more. Now, in this, I would like to remind my AIADMK colleague here that Dr. Jayalalitha, when she was a member of the Rajya Sabha, she was confronted by the then Union Minister, Mr. Anand Sharma, on this freebies issue. She went on record on the floor of the House saying that you people are mocking at those freebies. Those are social incentives. You may not know the value of them, but I choose to ignore that. That's what she said. I think the government should have chosen to ignore this and move on, because if this government is going to get rattled by one movie, I think they are on a very weak wicket. That's what it exposes their, that they don't have a spine. One thing. But does this justify distortion of facts in a movie? No, it does not. Because when you compare, this is something that I've been saying last time around also when we had the same debate. I had been saying that when you mock at the government, that's okay. You have the right to do that. But when you compare social incentive to a bribe given for vote, I think there you are distorting facts. There you are you're actually misguiding the public, and there I think you are leading to instigation of the public against the government, which needs to be addressed. And I would like to correct Mr. Rajashekaran. The censor board is not the final place. If I am aggrieved, I am offended, I can always go to court.
Right. I want to ask you this question because once again you raised the issue about whether there was distortion. But when it comes to fiction, a movie, most of us understand as a work of fiction, isn't it? Whereas the question of being on hard facts or on hard reality, most of the time it's supposed to be an imitation of real life. But does it really have to be factually correct in the sense that when it comes to a work of art, the creator does take liberties? I mean, this is all about taking that creative license, taking that creative liberty. That is what arts and movies are about. So somewhere are we forgetting that? Because I understand that cinema is powerful in Tamil Nadu. It has huge power and influence.
I agree with you.
Yes. Is that the reason why the ruling dispensation is nervous? Because cinema is huge. It's overwhelming in the state of Tamil Nadu. Akashdeep Sabir, if you can come in on this and help us understand that in a way, AIADMK is acknowledging the power of cinema because like Mr. Kishore said, that the government is rattled by a movie.
See, Afrida, first and foremost, all governments in this state have somehow have had deep connections to cinema. Their leaders have always come from cinema most of the time.
Yes.
But what baffles me is how blatantly politicians and eminent personalities are coming on such chats and saying that it is okay for the state to muzzle the voices of people who don't seem to agree with some policy of some state leader. I mean, that's the hallmark of democracy, that I can criticize the freebies, I can do a play criticizing the freebies, I can
Right.
do television, I can do cinema, I may not agree. In fact, one of the earlier speakers was so contradictory when he said, do you know some people in my state don't have money for 2 square meals? So do you know how thrilled they are when they are gifted a mixie? I felt like laughing. Somebody who does not have any money, what's he going to put in that mixie and do? It's ridiculous. I propagate banning of freebies to win elections, first and foremost. That's my point of view. So I am saying, if I don't agree with a particular state leader, is this a feudal system? Are we a country full of small countries where the chief ministers and the ruling parties are leaders like the Arab world, and we have to just bow and toe the line? They have done a certain policy in their state. You cannot ridicule it, says who? You cannot criticize it, says who? Why?
Yes.
You people may agree with what happened, but if there are others who
You
don't
cannot
agree,
distort
how
facts.
dare the state
You
come down
definitely
on
cannot
them
distort
and
facts.
muzzle them?
Freedom of
Right.
expression is not
Well, who
absolute.
are you to decide facts? Sir, we are not distorting
Freedom of
facts.
expression is not absolute.
Hello, 1 minute, let me finish. The fact is that freebies were given. The fact is that freebies were given. How are they being distorted? Can I
There
just
are
have
a bunch
1
of
minute
people who
silence?
believe
There
that
is
there is
an
some
important point to
distortion
be made here.
happening. For
Freebies were
every
given is a
film in
fact.
this country,
You are
there is a
moving
certain
No,
section
sir.
of
We have
people
to- no, sir.
who believe that
Freebies
is
were given.
distortion
That's the
because it
fact.
does not
You
resonate with
cannot
their
agree. They are not
ideology.
called distortion.
So I agree with Akash
You
on that
can
sense
use
that
a
who
legal
decides
perspective. Afrida,
what is
They have got it
distortion.
wrong again.
I'd like to
We
make a
have a
point here.
CBFC in this country.
No,
Let me
absolutely.
just, for the
It's
sake
wrong
of
of
our
them to say
viewers,
that it is being
bring in this
distorted.
point
Well,
about
if it's
Afrida,
the
fiction,
authority
if it's
here is the
fiction.
CBFC.
No, you see-
Now, when the AIA-DMK was pointed out, in
banned
fact,
it.
actor
Fiction.
Rajnikant
Announcement
pointed
of
out
freebies.
this issue about CBFC being the deciding authority. The AIA-DMK response saying that if you find a dead lizard inside a packed food packet with government-approved safety certification, will you eat it or will you discard it? Now, that is AIA-DMK's response. Mr. Arun Ram, would you like to come in? How do you then rebut such an argument that is coming from AIA-DMK?
No, I think there is more than, if you look at the history of the state, it has always celebrated intolerance in many different ways, be it the DMK or the AIA-DMK. And we all know that Jayalalitha loved to be an autocratic. She had worked towards being an authoritarian, and with considerable success if you look back. So what I feel is there are two things at play here. One is this dispensation, this regime, this accidental government, I would call them, is trying to inherit the intolerance on one side. And in the process, too, is to be more loyal than the Queen. So the problem here is Jayalalitha has been naturally aggressive, naturally an authoritarian. It's not a good thing. But then it came naturally to her. But here is a bunch of people who are just meek shadows of hers, trying to be something like her. So the result is a bit comic and a lot tragic. So we all know that there is something called the Central Board of Film Certification, and of course it's not the final authority. Somebody feels hurt, some sentiments are hurt by a movie. You can always go to court. The court can refer the matter back to the Censor Board. There are several other venues, but a ruling party kind of telling its cadres to get to the streets and tear down posters and try to abuse people, the filmmaker, the actor. This is nothing short of being ridiculous.
Yes.
So this, of course, the problem here is you are trying to inherit something which was bad and doing it in a much worse way.
Yes, Mr.
So
Arun Ram,
it is
again,
not
I
just
want you to
making- and I
highlight
think it
another
also
point here,
shows that
because
how-
since you said that this, and again, this is not the first time that such a thing is, such kind of vandalism is happening, but interestingly, there were far more critical movies critical of the AIADMK that were made. Apparently, none of those movies face this kind of obstruction. Now, Mr. Arun Ram, I want you to tell us, is it because it is Vijay's movie and Vijay of late has made some amount of his political ambitions clear that he has become a threat to AIADMK? Has that got anything to do with this kind of obstructionist attitude?
I think it's also a reflection of the how unstable and how insecure this government thinks about itself, probably. Because as you rightly said, there have been many movies which have painted the chief minister and many ministers. Politician as a villain is passing. It's nothing new. We have had Mudalvan when Raghuvaran plays the chief minister, the villain. We have had Sayaji Shinde play one of the worst, the nastiest villains who plays the role of a minister. We have had umpteen such stories where the ruling person, the person in power, had been portrayed as a villain, but this is not the first time. So this also shows. Look at the 2 points which this ruling party has taken offense to. One is the name being Komalavalli, the antagonist's name being Komalavalli, which happens to be the early name of Ms. Jayalalitha.
Name of Jayalalitha.
So even if it is, so what? So you can go to court, you can question that. So is it so you cut that name, you cut that Komalavalli name. Now the minister Uday Kumar and Edappadi Palaniswami are very happy that the name Komalavalli has been censured to Valli. So what about if all the Vallis of the universe object tear down posters of Vijay? This is ridiculous. So if you have a point to make, you make it in a court of law, or of course you make a public statement. Let people you have all the venues for gathering public opinion. So to let loose the cadres and probably using the police to threaten filmmakers and actors, it's not the right way at all. It shows
Are you going to unleash
vandalism
vandalism on the streets because you do not agree with the kind of content that a movie is projecting? I'm also joined by Aditya Pratap, who's the advocate, joining us from Noida. Mr. Pratap, I'm quoting from the Law Minister of Tamil Nadu, Mr. C.V. Shanmugan, who has said, he's gone to the extent of saying that all persons concerned with the film, the actors, the producers, the storytellers, should be booked under appropriate sections. I'm not just talking about Vijay. Everyone has the right to criticize the government, but the film is inciting violence, and this is a grave offense. Now, here is a law minister of a state saying this. What do we make of this? Because clearly now, we know that the Madras High Court had to intervene to prevent the arrest of Murugadas, even though the police claims that they were only there to give him protection. So there is a lot happening against the filmmakers. Can this be allowed in a democracy?
Well, if he says section, I ask which section? Opposition to the film on this ground has no legal basis. Firstly, because under section 5A of the Cinematograph Act and the rules issued thereunder, the CBFC has to judge a film on its aesthetics, its values, and it should promote healthy entertainment. It should not contain obscenity, lecherousness, or any insulting or other attributes. Second, if a film criticizes the government, a government cannot claim defamation. Criticism of the government is not defamation. And secondly, if the film is trying to criticize a scheme passed by the late Srimati Jayalalitha, you must note section 499 of the Indian Penal Code. Under section 499 of the IPC, there is an exception with regard to the public conduct of a person or a public servant. So if Jayalalitha has promulgated a scheme in a capacity as chief minister, in a public position capacity, and if you criticize that scheme, then even if she was living, she could not claim any defamation against you. Further, a film is an artistic expression. If a film in an artistic expression criticizes a government scheme, we have the Supreme Court case law of Kedarnath Singh of 1962, which clearly says that criticism in a film cannot amount to incitement or calling for violence against the government of India.
Right.
So on that point, also you cannot assault the film.
Absolutely.
when you merge all these things, it is not sedition, it is not defamation, it is not sedition, and thirdly, the government is not a person. Government has no right to claim defamation. For Srimati Jayalalitha, in case you defamed her personally, well, it can amount to defamation. But when you criticize an act done by her in a public capacity, it is protected under the exception to section 499 and is not even defamatory.
Right, so I will allow Mr. Muralidharan to respond to that, because you made a very important point here when you said that even if Jayalalitha was alive, you could not have claimed defamation. So like Mr. Arun Ram said, are you being more loyal than the Queen? Please respond, Mr. Muralidharan.
Yeah, I'll respond right from what Mr. Arun said. This is an incidental government. I'm sorry, Mr. Arun. We are there for last 1 year. The DMK, which I think probably you guys favor, has not been able to topple us down. Even the 18 MLA case, it's in our favor. And we have got stronger and stronger. And I know people are getting, getting cold turkey out of it. So we can't help it for that. Next is
keep
Mr.
your
Roy.
politics out of this debate,
defamation. Please. No, you are demeaning a person who's no more. It's up to me. It's for me.
No, we have an advocate
understand.
here saying that you cannot claim anything as illegal here. This is allowed in a democracy. You are allowed to criticize a chief minister who's even a chief minister who's no more, or a chief minister that is alive.
Listen,
in a democracy, that is allowed. That is how a democracy
thrives.
thrives.
Done by her in the public
I want
capacity,
to ask the advocate,
not private.
Frida.
Yes.
Frida, wait. Has he seen the movie?
Idi Amin is no more. If you make a biopic of Idi Amin, would you not criticize him?
There are urban Naxalites in the movie. My friend, there are urban Naxalites in the movie who have been casted. I'm telling you, the guys who protest the government in real life.
They can express whatever they want.
You need to understand that.
Sir, is the urban Naxal, is he trying to incite a rebellion? Unless or until you incite a rebellion, your film cannot be called seditious.
Mr. Muralidharan, when you have advocates explaining to you in clear terms,
what are you saying?
That does not amount to inciting of violence. It is within the artistic freedom for a filmmaker to do so. What are you talking about? Which urban Naxals in the movie are a threat to the security of this country?
This is a dead person.
That you are up in arms and you have unleashed goons on the streets of Tamil Nadu to vandalize public property.
If you say it's fiction...
No, I'm sorry. This is unheard of. The government of the day is so nervous. The head of the state has come out and said that this had to happen because people are angry. It is not party workers. Common people are angry that the state government is shown in poor light. Is he endorsing violence? That's my question to you, Mr. Muralidharan.
No. The people the fans of Amma were angry. The people of Amma were angry. You can't just keep demeaning the government like this. Because you have an agenda.
Yeah, but you cannot stop a film.
Please respond.
You don't run the program with an agenda.
I have one more point to
Mr. Akashdeep wants to come in.
Okay.
Let me allow other panelists to come in and rebut your points. Yes,
you have an agenda against your opposition. That's the way politics plays out. I'm saying if he feels that one party has an agenda against the other, what is so shocking about it? You have an agenda against your opposition. That's the way politics plays out. Don't get politics into cinema. My point to you is, I want to hang my head in shame as a citizen of a democracy that I'm not being allowed to say that I don't agree with a particular state leader.
Please hang yourself.
What has happened to our democracy?
Please hang yourself.
Why is Vijay not allowed to say that he does not agree with the policy of a certain leader?
This is how we are.
Are you ruling us or serving us?
You never understood Jallikattu.
You have been elected by us. Your salaries are paid by us. Your policies are funded by us. And you are
what I find
ruling us or serving
absolutely
us.
shocking, Mr. Akashdeep, like you said,
So
is that the government, far from condemning the violence, far from reining in on the goons, actually comes out and says, the head of the government comes out and says that such violence is justified because people are angry. That is where the danger lies, when you have the government actually endorsing this. Because how else would you, why would you justify the violence? You know, it's your job to maintain law and order. Far from doing that, you are telling us that if the movie is against people's sentiments, vandalism should happen?
Frida, can I interject?
No. I'm sorry, the arguments made by AIADMK today is just not cutting eyes.
Does not go with the views of a particular leader.
Yes,
you're going to clamp on democracy
Mr.
and
Kishore
freedom of
Swami,
speech.
please come in.
Sir, you do that to a live person, not to a dead person. Where is your ethics?
If one
Where is your
doesn't-
damn decency?
And you're coming on national channel and arguing.
No, but your
about a
ethics
dead
can be
person.
different
What
from
ethics?
mine, sir. Your
What
morality
ethics are you
can be
talking
different
about?
from mine. How will you decide? Who decides? I just had Advocate Aditya
You can
Pratap
build a
explain
temple
to
and
you
pray to the person for
why
all we
this.
care, yaar, but that's not the issue.
I had an advocate
don't
in the
politicians
panel
know how to
explain
do
to you
it?
the law of
Question
the
here.
land.
Who will
Are
not
you
agree?
above
I
the
will ask one
law?
more question here.
Yes, Mr.
Everybody
Kishore
does not
Swami,
have to
please go
agree.
ahead.
There are people who will not agree with you.
Akash,
When will
stop
politicians
dealing with the poor
understand that there are people
And
who
you're
will
laughing
not
at it
always agree
just
with you?
because you sit in an AC room, AC couch.
I
and
am
you
not
make
demeaning,
crores of
sir.
rupees.
You
It
are
doesn't mean
making
you're
a
stupid.
No,
joke
I'm
out of
sorry, I
them.
will not
You
allow
are
this slanging
manipulating
match
them to win
because
your
I have a
elections.
lot of
You are
questions
giving
to
people who
ask
don't have money
my
for answers.
panelists, and I will not
You
allow
never
any
understood
digressing
anyone
from the
by
main
brackets.
issues. I want to ask you,
contradicting yourself.
I want to ask you, Mr. Kishore Swami, that
Nobody's
you know,
digressing. You don't
Vijay's.
understand
This is not
us.
the way.
There
You
is
don't
an
understand our
allegation
movies,
that
our
actor
culture,
Vijay
nothing.
may be using
You
this
have an
film as a
agenda
political
to drive the-
launchpad.
Sir,
Is
you-
that the reason
Okay, you are
why
right.
he's
You are
being
right in
perceived as a
believing-
political threat and therefore the brouhaha? Because somewhere people are asking this question now. Is Vijay a threat to the AIADMK, Mr. Kishore Swami?
Yeah, see, Frida, on a lighter vein, Mr. Pratap, I would like to point out to you that you addressing Dr. Jayalalitha as Srimati Jayalalitha itself warrants defamation. One thing. And
How
second
defamation?
thing is, as
Are you
when it
even a
comes to
person
Vijay,
aggrieved?
I think,
You are, sir, you are
this
not a person
government
aggrieved under
has
section
actually,
198 of the CRPC. And merely
trash
by giving her a
movie
title, I
has been
cannot be held
given all
liable
this
for
highlight
defamation.
and all this
How can you make
publicity
such a
because
statement?
Ahmad Khan, aggrieved person in Sabarimala.
No, please speak.
Was
When I
Priti
come to you,
Desai.
sir, I do not
Was
like
Priti
people
Desai
speaking
as
out
a
of
person
turn
to be
because
a
my
person
viewer is
Ahmad
not
Khan
able to
has been
understand
given.
any
I
one of
can
you right
counter
now.
you. I may not
My
counter
viewer
you,
is not
but I know
able
the
to
point.
understand any one person right now. That is wasting my time. Let's go one by one. Mr. Kishore Swami, make your point, and then Aditya Pratap, you can rebut. Let Mr. Kishore Swami make his point.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, see, I think this government was so rattled by a person like Vijay and a person who's actually whose movie is nothing but trash. These people have given the unwanted publicity to it. They have made a mountain of a molehill, which they shouldn't have. There was a distortion of fact. And I do believe that that can be taken to court. With due respects to Mr. Pratap and his legal interpretation, I do have a difference of opinion on that. I do believe that this can be taken to court and the court can decide thereupon. But having said this, this government cannot get away by letting out goons on the streets, bringing down the placards. That is not on. That is not going to be supported by anybody. In civil society, we will not support it. But that cannot mean that the movie makers get away with their malafide intentions.
Right.
I think
Whether it
both
is
are at
Salem,
fault.
whether it is Tirupur, in Dharmapura, in Chennai, in Kumbhakonam, all these places, there were several instances of vandalism. There was a destruction of public property. And let's not forget that is a wastage of taxpayers' money. We cannot allow that. Let me bring in Akashdeep once again. Akashdeep, the issue here also is
Can I
that
add
the
a
Chief
point here?
Minister has come out to directly target those actors, those superstars who have expressed their political ambition. He has targeted Rajnikant, he has targeted Kamal Hassan, and he has gone to say that where is your money coming from? What do you even do for the people? You have no connect with the people. And of course, he has bunched Vijay with all of them, saying all these film stars who have political ambitions are good for nothing. Now, this is in one sweeping statement, of course, which is there. In fact, we can play out that particular soundbite for our viewers. The Chief Minister is targeting his political adversary. So that also gives away the fact that somewhere Vijay is a threat for the current government.
Yeah. See, Afrida, the point is not only that Vijay is a strength and that cinema is a powerful tool. I just don't believe that in 2018 we are in a country where we say we are the world's largest democracy and a chief minister of a small state will not allow a free media like cinema and a person to say anything that is contrary to his policies. This is dadagiri. This is muzzling of democracy. I may not agree with Amma's policies of freebies, but I cannot express it in a motion picture. Why? Those who agree have a right to continue to agree. But how can the minister, chief minister, leaders all clamp upon the film, force cuts, vandalize the theaters, tear down the hoardings? What is this? Are you trying to say that we are people who are no more in a democracy? We just have to have fingers on our lip, and whoever we have elected for 5 years, thinking this is our democratic right, after that one day of voting, we become people who live in a monarchy. And as you say, sir, okay, sir, you are
Right.
distributing freebies. We have to agree with you, sir. We don't have money to eat. We don't have any anaj. What will I put in the mixer, sir? But no, I will not question,
is for
sir.
the people
You are right, sir.
decide.
How
Which
dare
is
they
why
want
we are
this from
questioning
us?
the
This has not
AIDMK
just
today,
happened
and
here.
which
It
is
has
why-
happened in
Intellects coming out
Padmavat.
and
Which
telling
is
us
why
that-
we want to know
Why
that
do-
is this
why-
how the
intellects like you coming out and
believes
talking
in
about
functioning,
against
because this is
freebies?
almost
Do you know the value
smacking
of
of
social
Africa, it is
autocracy,
happening
where
in
you
every
have
state.
killed so many people in the Starlight
Somebody has to
protest.
take this
There
up
were
on a higher
arrests
level.
made during the Salem Highway protest, and
It's
now a
happening in
movie
Punjab,
has
it's
rattled this
happening in
government.
Rajasthan, it's
This
happening
cannot be allowed to
everywhere.
continue. But I want to listen, and I want to play out that particular soundbite that the Chief Minister, where he made a statement and targeted the film stars who have turned politicians.
300 கோடி 400 கோடி படம் போட்டு எடுக்கிறாங்க. எங்கிருந்து அந்த பணம் வந்தது? ஒரு படம் எடுக்கிறதுக்கு 900 கோடி ஆகும்னு சொல்கிறாங்க. நீங்கள் ஊடகத்திலே வெளியிடுறீங்க, பத்திரிகையிலையும் வெளியிடுறீங்க. இந்த பணமெல்லாம் எப்படி அவங்களுக்கு வருது? மக்களுக்கு பார்த்து செய்கின்ற திட்டம். இவர்கள் மாதிரி 3.5 கோடி காரில் போகிறதில்ல, ஏசியில் இருக்கிறதில்ல, ஒரு படத்துக்கு 50 கோடி 100 கோடி வாங்குறதில்ல. எத்தனை கோடி வாங்கி எத்தனை கோடி மக்களுக்கு செஞ்சுருக்கிறாங்க? அது சொல்லுங்க பார்க்கலாம். ஒரு படத்துக்கு 50 கோடி 100 கோடிங்கிறாங்க. எவ்வளோ மக்களுக்கு செஞ்சுருக்கிறாங்க சேவை?
Mr. Arun Ram, can you help us understand that, the head of a state coming out, visibly rattled with all these names? I mean, with
Ask him to
Rajnikant,
answer that, please.
with Kamal
Where is the
Hassan,
money coming
and
from?
now with
Why are they
Vijay.
not spending
What
that
does
money
it
on the
say
people?
about the current
so
dispensation? No, I want Mr. Arun Ram, please. I'll come to you in a bit.
What do you mean, where's the money coming from?
Yes.
All these actors are higher taxpayers.
Exactly. I will
All
allow
these
you to.
actors
I will
are high
allow you to make
taxpayers,
that
and
point,
it's their money that is
Akashdeep.
used for all
Let
their
Mr.
policies
Arun Ram
and all the
explain to us the
luxuries of the
politics
What
of
do you mean
Tamil
by that?
Nadu
What are they doing?
and the
Everybody
immediate
does not have to be a
context under which we should look at
Everybody
this
does not.
statement, because this is a statement that has come from the Chief Minister of the state. Yes, Mr. Arun Ram.
We just listened to the chief minister saying something extremely ridiculous, because he's not getting into the merit of the case at all. He's asking a question: where does 300 to 400 crore come from for the filmmakers?
Yes.
If people start asking questions about the way of life, the lifestyles of politicians, people in power and out of power, where do they get all these things? It will be very nasty. So let's not get there. So, in fact, when I look at it, the whole drama that has played out on the streets of Tamil Nadu, on the roads of Tamil Nadu, I think was much better. What I hear from friends who watch the movie is much better than the movie itself. So, I, for one, I'm not going to watch Sarkar, because the entertainment has happened outside. But for the violence that happened across the state, which is very tragic, I think most of these statements made by people in power were very comic. There's a chief minister saying this 300 to 400 crore, where you get from. Now the minister suggesting that the government representative a state government representative should be made a member of the censor board, so that such problems can be prevented in future. Then there is another minister saying that Komalavalli has to be made into Valli. So are these the issues the state is confronting? If you're talking about the entertainment industry, there are so many issues the entertainment industry is confronting. Are you doing anything about it? You've got your priorities wrong, and your bites, your sound bites have been extremely comic. Doesn't make sense. I don't think it even merits a serious discussion about what the chief minister and its cabinet ministers have spoken about the whole thing, while unleashing violence, which has to be criticized by everyone, every democracy-loving citizen.
Mr. Rajashekharan, what is your understanding of why has the state taken up the cudgels against the filmmakers? You heard the statement made by the Chief Minister. He is clearly aggrieved with not just Vijay, but also with Rajnikant and Kamal Hassan.
Script robbery story again.
Mr. Rajashekharan, please.
Afrida, see, I don't agree with any kind of violence, hooliganism, rowdyism, or vandalizing anywhere in the country. I don't support that. Neither I encourage anybody doing that. Being a lawyer of my own stature, I support what is right and what is wrong. But here the story is again different. See, it was spontaneous. The cadres of ADMK, out of real attachment and emotionally attached, sentimentally they are attached to.
But what is the
late
state government
Jayalalitha.
doing about it? Can you allow this kind of spontaneity? I mean, I'm sorry. This is vandalism, which can turn ugly, which can be a threat to people's lives. How can you have a state running in this manner? And I'm sorry again, you are justifying it by saying this is spontaneity. Can a country allow this kind of spontaneity?
Any cadre will emotionally react. That was what was happening, I understand. But I don't agree with any kind of rowdyism or hooliganism.
We have a law minister who is
saying
saying that this movie incites violence.
Yes.
That is justifying violence on the streets.
Absolutely.
We have the law minister.
Yes.
Which
is why I quoted the law minister, because I found it extremely unbelievable that the law minister of the state would say such a thing, that all the actors and producers have to be booked because this is inciting violence. That is what the government believes. That is what the law minister of the state is saying. Everybody has the right to criticize, but nobody should incite. Now, if that is the position of the government, well, I mean, obviously there is
law and order is
people who will be on the free run, attacking everything
Let me
around.
make a point here. Who is the
I would like to interject. I have a point to make here.
Okay, Aditya Pratap, please come in, and then I will come to you, Mr. Rajashekharan.
Yeah.
I will come to you.
See, well, I will again begin with the point of defamation. Under section 199 of the CRPC, only a person who is aggrieved can file a case of defamation. Now, this person aggrieved should be a relative or an associate or a partner. Just because you are an admirer of Jayalalitha does not make you a person aggrieved. So such people cannot even file a defamation case against the filmmaker or other persons. Second, the government is not a person within the meaning of section 499. If you insult the government has no locus standi, it has no right to file a defamation case. Third, since government is not a person,
no, the government is not even filing a defamation case, Mr. Aditya Pratap. The government has simply decided to turn a blind eye to the vandalism that is going around, which is why we are asking the question that whose responsibility is it to maintain law and order? Is this how Tamil Nadu will be run?
It is not the government, the police should take action.
Exactly, which is why we are saying that this is a failure on the part of the Tamil Nadu government. And the shocking part is the Chief Minister has said that this violence had to happen because people are angry.
No, I'm not.
So that is the problem here. It's not even that the state government is not aware of the kind of violence that is going on. It's very much aware, and it is almost approving of this because it believes that this is anger which is justified. Now there lies the problem. Yes, Mr. Muralidharan.
No. Well, one more point I'll add here. Police is an independent entity. Police can stop all this in 2 minutes. But it clearly shows how the top brass of the police is compromised.
Right. Yes, Mr. Muralidharan, please respond. Is the police compromised? Why hasn't the police taken action against the vandals?
Point number one.
The Chief Minister cannot dictate terms to the police.
3 points. One, which is the lawyers, with due respect to the lawyer, he is talking about aggrieved persons. Is Naushad Ahmad Khan an aggrieved person in Sabarimala? Was Prithvi Desai an aggrieved person in Sabarimala? Why are different rules for different people, sir? Next, I'll come to another point. Okay, you talked about fiction. There's no fiction in the movie. There's a Naxalite acting in the movie. Third, what about Vijay? Vijay, is he a honest person? He's a tax evader. He has evaded 5 crores of tax. One. Second, the producer of the movie. Who are they? Mr. Marans. And CBI is sitting on their head.
No, I would not like you to make these allegations because under what context are you making these allegations? We are talking about vandalism that has happened in Tamil Nadu across various locations. I can tell you the number of locations where we have seen this kind of the pictures are now there on your screens for our viewers to see what has been happening in the state. Now, under what context are you quoting us whether Vijay has paid his taxes or not? That is not the issue we are debating here. What has that got to do with anything that we are discussing here? We are talking about muzzling dissent. We are talking about AIADMK getting extremely nervous about this movie. And it is unbecoming of a head of a state to actually say that this violence would happen because people are unhappy.
Vandalism, we are sorry about the vandalism. Nobody supports vandalism. One. Second is, in the name of freedom of speech, freedom of expression, stop aggravating people.
You are playing with people's emotion, and that to a revered leader like Jayalalitha, whom this country has never seen, or the world has never seen. She was in power for more number of any years than any other chief minister of Tamil Nadu. So stop making a joke out of her. You are aggravating people. You are making people. This is what the law minister meant by.
So the government will dictate terms to the filmmakers, to the artists, to the journalists, and to the activists, and to everybody else on what their content should be in the work of fiction. Is the government going to dictate terms? Unless it suits your agenda, you will unleash goons.
What are you talking about, the government?
No, I'm sorry, you are not making sense, and I have repeatedly asked you that question which you could not answer, because this is clearly muzzling dissent. Yes, Akashdeep, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, first and foremost, Afrida, I am seeing that this debate is now spreading to the extent that some of the supporters, can you please be silent, I'm speaking, that some of the supporters are now saying that Amma is the greatest leader in the world. Forget India. How does anything in Tamil Nadu affect the rest of the country? It is your state-specific issue. Secondly, it's not the first time. Rajasthan government refused to allow the film to release despite the Supreme Court's order. Urta Punjab had an issue. It's not just this state. This is becoming a problem situation in this country. The ruling party wants its own people, even in the censor board, to muzzle voices. How can you be a watchdog and ensure that only whatever suits you comes out? This is not democracy, sir. If you want your policies and your yesteryear leaders,
you are making fun of poor people, my friend.
Okay, I got your point, Akashdeep, and again, I would not like this slanging match to happen. I want to bring Arun Ram again to bring some sense into the debate, because we have to understand this in the right perspective also. That's the whole idea, because I want to bring in...
Tamil Nadu, it's happening everywhere.
No, we got your point. I want to bring in Mr. Arun Ram again to help us understand this, because, you know...
Afrida, I would like to interject.
Yes, I will come back to you. Mr. Arun Ram, in the launch of the film in October last year, Vijay had made his political ambitions, or suggested rather, in various ways, because he made a politically tinted speech there as well. Now, in the given context in Tamil Nadu politics, why do we see that this kind of an intertwining between cinema and politics? So, and if there is this kind of a connection, then can we really blame the AIADMK for being so nervous today?
True, actor Vijay has been, playing hide and seek with politics for a while, more hiding than seeking. What he has done is in the last several years, he has sometimes made these statements which indicate that he might enter politics and then backs out. This has been the style of Vijay and many other people in the tinsel world and Kollywood. So, but I think he has done it cleverly also whenever there is a movie being released, and all this galata which has happened has further helped the movie in a way. I'm told that the movie may have more viewers because of the problems created. So his political ambitions have been there, but I don't think there is much space for a person like Vijay. I'm not ruling out. Nothing can be ruled out in politics. But then let me tell you that after Rajinikanth and Kamal having announced their entry, Kamal campaigning almost every day across the state, and Rajini anytime getting into politics, I don't think there is much space now. But all these people became ambitious after two giants in Dravidian politics exited the stage, M. Karunanidhi and J. Jayalanka, the last one.
Yes, I'll come to you. I'll come to you.
So it was a fact that there was a vacuum created by the absence of these two people. But I don't think that. I think Vijay will be a bit too late. By the time he comes in, probably others would have taken to space.
Right, but
it is a fact that the AIADMK is in a shambles. What it continues to hold on is some leftovers from the previous election. So as soon as this government's life is over, in all probability, of course DMK continues to be a strong party, but there should be an alternative to DMK. So that is the space everybody is trying to occupy, which could be Rajini, which could be Kamal. There's no harm in Vijay trying, but I personally feel that Vijay may not stand a chance because it's too late and he's too little.
Right, but he does have a following, I believe, in the very in the teenage, group, because of which perhaps there could be a reason why political adversaries might feel that he might have a future, or he can be a threat in the future, and therefore his wings need to be clipped right now. Is that that is an observation made, in fact, by some analysts? Yes, Mr. Rajashekharan.
Afrida, see, Tamil Nadu is totally a different state compared to any other state in the country, because the literacy rate is 85% and the voters in the age of 18 to 55 are very strong whenever they cast their votes. But the previous elections was totally different, because we had the great tall leader like Kalanjar and Madam Jayalalitha. Today, Tamil Nadu needs a leader with real stature and political acumen, and definitely not a 68-year-old senior citizen or a 65-year-old another senior citizen aspiring to become the chief minister, which is definitely not so easy, because DMK is definitely all said and done strong, and ADMK, yes, if they come together, they are also equally strong. So you cannot underestimate the power of the vote bank which both these parties are holding, and the voters are more used to these two parties in the past. But today the younger generations want to shift the qualified, literate people. But it is a difficult job. We have to make them understand they should elect and select qualified, educated people in the age of 18 to 55 for the future generation to be safe and secured. That is my only wish and ambition to proceed further. That is the reason I have started a movement called Voice of Tamil Nadu, to just be an alarm bell to the state.
There is nothing wrong, sir, in anybody having political ambition, but there is everything wrong with this kind of an obstruction created for the release of a movie, or vandalizing a film poster, or threatening the filmmaker for that matter. Akashdeep, you wanted to comment on the point that the Chief Minister made about how the filmmakers and the actors make crores and crores of rupees and they do not have a connect with the people. And he also questions where the funding is coming from. What exactly do you think he's insinuating?
I completely disagree with his lines, and I guess today, if you really ask me, actors are more connected to the public at large more than politicians. There's a general dislike for politicians, at least the current crop. And it amuses me that there are already voices that are saying that the ruling party in the state must have its people in the censor board, representation in the censor board. I mean, very clearly, what is it for? To make sure that nothing that is against your party comes out to people. Now, is this democracy? Don't we need to hang our heads in shame under the disguise of Amma, yesteryears, freebie policies? You are even now ensuring that nothing that doesn't suit your agenda comes out, and no senior leader from the center is saying a word. I said the same thing during Punjab and Urta Punjab controversy, during Padmavat and Rajasthan, where blatantly the Chief Minister says, I'm not going to listen to the Supreme Court, I'm not going to allow the film to run, and all these Karni Senas and everyone was running amok. Every time the political parties release their members and goons to vandalize under the pretext of stirring that, oh, their emotions are stirred. Come on, if you've done this, there is an opposition. What if their members don't like what you did and their emotions are stirred? Where are we going to degrade and bring ourselves down to what level of democracy? And eminent people are propagating and supporting such muzzling of voices?
Right.
Whether Vijay has political ambitions or not, how can you stop him? He will lose. To hell with it. That does not mean that if he makes a piece of cinema which is duly censored by a board constituted by the center, the state chief minister, the law minister, others vandalizing have no business to be doing what they are doing. And the chief minister, instead of these lines, should have said, I am not going to allow muzzling of democracy.
Right.
Let Vijay say what he wants in his
Unfortunately,
film.
Akashdeep, that did
others
not
have a
happen.
counter view, let them
Unfortunately,
make a film and do it. I understand
for
the undercurrent between DMK and
right.
DMK.
We would have liked the Chief Minister to say that. We would have liked him to condemn the violent protests, but that did not happen. I'm completely out of time. I would like to thank all my panelists for joining us here on Mirror Now this evening. Thanks for your time. And clearly, this is a country that cannot run on emotions. It has to run on law of the land. Nobody is above the law of the land, which is why it's absolutely appalling for the head of a state government to say that violent protests can happen and will happen if there is criticism of the state government. That is certainly not acceptable. Thanks for watching.